Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivatsa, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring for you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. In this edition, we have an exclusive interview with Parul Agarwal, Country Program Manager, India at UN Habitat. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin the program with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. U.S. Congress certifies Joe Biden as the president amidst violence and chaos at Capitol Hill. India will hold the second nationwide mock drill on the COVID-19 vaccination tomorrow. Japan Prime Minister declares state of emergency in Tokyo over spike in COVID cases. India defends equalization levy against US 301 report, says the levy promotes fair competition and reasonableness. The Domain, Into the Darkness, and February in the stellar lineup of international feature films for IFFI in Goa. And in sports, Australia off to a good start against India on the opening day of the third cricket test at Sydney. The U.S. Congress has certified Joe Biden as the next president and Kamala Harris as vice president of the country. Vice President Mike Pence, as the president of the Senate, oversaw the certification process. He confirmed to Congress that out of the 538 electoral college votes cast, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris received 306, while Donald Trump and Mike Pence received 232 votes. The decision came hours after Trump supporters stormed into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The incident left 4 people dead. A state of emergency has been declared for 15 days in the U.S. Capitol, and national security guards have taken over the security there. In another development, outgoing President Trump's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts have been blocked.
Joe Biden's victory was confirmed in the early hours of Thursday by a joint session presided over by Vice President Mike Pence. He termed the violence as a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol. The objections by some Republican lawmakers to overturn the result in Arizona and Pennsylvania was rejected as well. The exercise cleared the decks for Joe Biden to be sworn in on 20th January. In response, Trump pledged an orderly transition of power. However, it has been a transition of power marked by violence in which 4 people died after supporters of Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday to stop Congress from certifying President-elect Joe Biden's election victory. The clashes followed over 2-month-long war of words between Democrats and the Republicans on the election results. Joe Biden blasted what he called the insurrection as Mr. Trump, while telling the mob to go home, continued to make false claims of electoral fraud. The rampage came as 2 Democrats won Senate seats in elections in Georgia, which shifted the balance of power in favor of the Democrats and paving the way for Joe Biden to be sworn in as the next president of the United States on 20th January. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News, All India Radio.
The Associated Press has called the Georgia Senate elections in favor of the 2 Democrats candidates. Raphael Warnock had won the first runoff in Georgia to become the first black Democrat to be elected to the Senate from the South. In the other runoff election, John Ossoff defeated Republican candidate David Perdue. With this, the Democrats assume control of the Senate.
Close on the heels of the announcement of the results of the Senate elections by various reports, the Wall Street's main indexes opened higher on Thursday. The S&P 500 and the Dow opened at near record levels. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 71.8 points or 0.23% at the open to 30,901.18. The S&P 500 rose 16.6 points or 0.44% at the open to 3,764.71, while the Nasdaq Composite rose 126.5 points or 0.99% to 12,867.34 at the opening bell. World leaders expressed distress and apprehension over the chaotic developments at the capital of the United States of America on Thursday morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he is distressed to see the news about rioting and violence in Washington, D.C. He said orderly and peaceful transfer of power must continue and the democratic process cannot be allowed to be subverted through unlawful protests. British PM Boris Johnson termed the scenes in US Congress as disgraceful. He said that the United States stands for democracy around the world and it is now vital that there should be a peaceful and orderly transfer of power. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said, "Our thoughts are with everyone who is as devastated as we are by the events of today. I have no doubt democracy will prevail." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that Canadians are deeply disturbed and saddened by the attack on democracy in the United States, our closest ally and neighbour.
India has responded to the Section 301 report of US on equalization levy. India's Commerce Ministry in a statement said that the purpose of equalization levy is to ensure fair competition, reasonableness and excise the ability of governments to tax business that have a close nexus with the Indian market through their digital operations. The statement further clarified that there is no retrospective element to the levy. It said that the effective date of the levy is 1st of April 2020. It added that it does not have extraterritorial application and applies only on the revenue generated from India. The Office of USTR released its findings on the Section 301 investigation into India's Digital Services Tax DST on Wednesday. It said that India's DST, the equalization levy, is discriminatory and restricts US commerce. Similar measures by US has been announced by US against Italy and Turkey. India's Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Thursday said that India strongly fought back the COVID-19 pandemic. It has led to a significant reduction in COVID cases across the country. He informed that Covishield and Covaxin vaccines have come to the availability stage after being granted emergency use authorization in the country. The minister reviewed the preparedness of the states and union territories a day ahead of the nationwide exercise dry run of administering COVID-19 vaccine. The exercise will be conducted on Friday in more than 700 districts of 33 states and union territories. He said this drive will ensure efficient planning and management for vaccine delivery in each district of the country.
India will hold the second nationwide mock drill on the COVID-19 vaccination tomorrow on Friday at 3 session sites of the 736 districts across 33 states and union territories. The objective of the mock drill is to simulate the actual vaccine administration event. The dry run will also familiarize the state, district, block and hospital level officers on all the aspects of COVID-19 rollout. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan appreciated the efforts by the stakeholders, including the central and state government officials and the medical community. He also expressed gratitude to the scientific community for their work on the two vaccines. Japan's Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has declared a state of emergency in the capital Tokyo and surrounding areas on Thursday. Tokyo saw a record 2,477 infections today compared to 1,591 cases on Wednesday. Prime Minister Suga has promised to turn the situation around within a month. He added that the vaccine trial data is being reviewed and vaccinations will start by late February. Meanwhile, the Japanese government has stated that preparations are underway towards the Tokyo Olympics to be held in July. In a tweet, it added that organizers are sparing no effort to realize games that are safe and secure so as to prove that humanity has defeated the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Indian Embassy in Seychelles has stated that the 22nd Vande Bharat mission special chartered flight operated by Air Seychelles to Ahmedabad on 17th and 18th Jan 21 is now open for booking.
Three steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, on Thursday dedicated to the nation the 306-kilometer-long New Rewari-New Madar section of the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. He also flagged off the world's first double-stack long-haul 1.5-kilometer-long container train hauled by electronic traction from New Ateli, New Kishangarh through video conference. The double-stack long-haul container train operation will maximize capacity utilization. These freight trains will run at the maximum speed of 100 km per hour as against the current maximum speed of 75 km per hour on the Indian railway tracks. Mr. Modi appreciated the financial and technical support offered by Japan in the creation of the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. He said the increasing foreign direct investment in India's infrastructure sector is a sign of the growing confidence of foreign countries in India's investment climate.
भारत में आ रही रिकॉर्ड फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट एफडीआई, भारत का बढ़ता विदेशी मुद्रा का भंडार, इसका प्रभाव का नतीजा है कि दुनिया का भारत पर लगातार बढ़ता भरोसा, जापान और जापान के लोग भारत की विकास यात्रा में एक भरोसेमंद मित्र की तरह हमेशा भारत के साथ ही रहे हैं। वेस्टर्न डेडिकेटेड फ्रेट कॉरिडोर के निर्माण में भी जापान ने आर्थिक सहयोग के साथ ही भरपूर टेक्नोलॉजी सपोर्ट भी दिया है। मैं जापान और जापान के लोगों का अभिनंदन करता हूं।
Western Freight Corridor project is an important venture of Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Initiative. Bangladesh has reiterated its demand for an apology from Pakistan for the genocide of its people during the Liberation War in 1971. Report from our Dhaka correspondent.
Bangladesh has asked Pakistan for an official apology for the genocide committed in the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971 against its people. The State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh, Shahryar Alam, told the High Commissioner of Pakistan, Imran Ahmad Siddiqui, in Dhaka today that the apology was important for resolving the outstanding bilateral issues with Pakistan. He also told the Pakistani High Commissioner that Pakistan should complete the repatriation of Pakistanis stranded in Bangladesh and settle the issue of the division of assets between the two countries. The Pakistani High Commissioner had paid a courtesy visit to the State Minister Shahryar Alam in Dhaka today. The minister urged Pakistan to grant access to more Bangladeshi products under the SAFTA provisions and to relax the negative list and other trade barriers. In 1971, during the Liberation War of Bangladesh, more than 3 million Bangladeshi people were massacred by the Pakistani forces and their collaborators in the then East Pakistan before it attained liberation with support from India. It is considered one of the biggest genocides in modern history. Rajesh Jha for World News, All India Radio, Dhaka.
Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has said that Bangladesh has resisted the rise of militancy with an iron hand and promoted interfaith harmony. She said that people of all religions have been living peacefully in Bangladesh by maintaining mutual tolerance and will continue to do so in the future. On the occasion of her government's second anniversary on Thursday, in a televised address to the nation, Prime Minister Hasina recalled that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman dreamt to build a repression and deprivation-free, democratic and non-communal state, a state where people, irrespective of religion, caste, creed and profession, will live in peace and comfort. She said her only goal was to realize the dream of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman for Bangladesh. Highlighting the need for sustainable development, the Prime Minister said that Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100 has been adopted to tackle the effects of climate change in Bangladesh. The United Nations on Thursday expressed deep concern about 53 arrested in Hong Kong on Friday. The UNHCR called for the immediate release of the 53 individuals. In a statement, it added that the arrests are a sign that the national security law is indeed being used to detain individuals for exercising their fundamental freedoms.
Yesterday's arrests were the latest in a series of detentions related to the exercise of fundamental freedoms, including the right to peaceful assembly in Hong Kong. We stress that exercise of the right to take part in the conduct of public affairs directly and through freely chosen representatives is a fundamental right protected by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which is incorporated into Hong Kong's basic law. We call on the authorities to uphold their obligations under the International Covenant and to refrain from using the national security law to suppress the rights to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and association.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar wrapped up his 3-day visit to Sri Lanka on Thursday. The Indian Embassy in Sri Lanka thanked his counterpart, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene, for making the visit a huge success. Earlier in the day, Dr. Jaishankar said that he had a productive meeting with Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda. In a tweet, he said they reviewed our cooperation in fisheries after the recent joint working group session. The minister also met the Tamil National Alliance and the Tamil Progressive Alliance delegations. He discussed issues pertaining to development and devolution and the role of provincial councils. India on Wednesday handed over a cheque of Nepali rupees 306 million for the reconstruction of earthquake-affected schools. Namgya Khampa, Deputy Chief of Mission DCM at Embassy of India in Nepal, met Sushil Gyavali, CEO of National Reconstruction Authority NRA on Wednesday and handed over a cheque of 306.6 million Nepali rupees. With this cheque handover, India has reimbursed an amount of NR's 819.8 million to Government of Nepal towards educational sector reconstruction projects. On Tuesday, Nepal Ambassador to India, Nilambar Acharya, held a virtual meeting with Executive Director of Bharat Biotech, Dr. V. Krishna Mohan, and his team. They discussed COVID-19 vaccine production by Bharat Biotech and its availability.
India has called for introspection within the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, over the lack of representation of African countries among its permanent members. The views were expressed by Secretary Harsh Vardhan Shringla at the UN Security Council on challenges of maintaining peace and security in fragile contexts. He said the Council, while more than half of the country issues of the Council's agenda pertain to Africa, the African continent does not even have a single voice amongst the permanent membership to defend its own interests.
India welcomes the evolution and rise of Africa as a key factor in the contemporary world. We are committed to supporting African countries in this endeavour as per African priorities and without conditionalities. This is in keeping with the 10 guiding principles of India's engagement with Africa, as enunciated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his address to the Parliament of Uganda in July 2018. India will continue to support Africa's aspirations and work towards empowering Africa for a future that is founded on the principles of inclusivity, sustainability, transparency and socio-economic development with dignity and respect.
Mr. Shringla's statement is a reflection of India's stand and commitment to be the voice for the developing world at the UN body. In Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo was sworn in as the president on Thursday. He was re-elected on December the 7th with 51.3% of the votes. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Sri V. Muralidharan, visited Accra to participate in the swearing-in ceremony of President Akufo-Addo. In a tweet, the Indian Embassy in Ghana stated the minister will also discuss strengthening bilateral ties. The minister met the Indian community in Ghana ahead of the event and appreciated them for strengthening the bonds of India-Ghana friendship. Ghana President Nana Akufo-Addo called for unity at his swearing-in ceremony on Thursday after a fight erupted in a fight on the floor of the parliament. Soldiers rushed into Ghana's parliament to break up a scuffle between rival lawmakers over a dispute on December the 7th election, which was declared in favour of Mr. Akufo-Addo. Akufo-Addo said, "Pledge that all that he does will be in for the common good" at the ceremony attended by heads of state from across West and Central Africa.
The 51st International Film Festival of India has released the lineup of international movies for competition during the festival. The best of the feature-length fiction films from all over the world are selected to compete in the section. The movies that are part of the stellar lineup include The Domain by Tiago Guedes, is a 2019 Portuguese drama film about a family of landowners who have passed down a vast estate on the southern bank of the Tagus River in Portugal for generations.
O João está tão habituado a ter tudo o que quer como quer. O mundo existe para o servir. O seu mundo. O seu reino.
Into the Darkness by Anders Refn is about the German occupation of Denmark.
Hvorfor bliver vi varet?
Tyskland er verdens stærkeste militærmagt.
Men hvad sker der så nu?
Det eneste, der er sikkert, er, at vi ikke er herre i eget hus.
And February by Kamen Kalev, set in Bulgaria, follows the life of a man at 8, 18 and 82 years old.
The COVID-19 pandemic unraveled two facets to the process of urbanization that is taking place around the world. While cities are the engines of growth, the pandemic laid bare its vulnerabilities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speaking at the Bloomberg New Economy Forum last year, said that the COVID pandemic provides an opportunity to give migrant populations better housing facilities and a better work environment. In today's Hotspot segment, we are in conversation with Ms. Parul Agrawal, Country Program Manager, India at UN Habitat. She shares with us her views over India's efforts at ensuring housing for all, the global thrust towards building sustainable cities.
Namaskar. We have with us Ms. Parul Agrawal, Country Program Manager, UN Habitat India. She has worked on promoting the new urban agenda and sustainable development goals into the national policy framework in South Asia region. Welcome, Ms. Parul. Today we talk about the state of our cities and towns. Tell us where we are now and what is the road ahead.
The emphasis on housing is because, we consider housing as the basic building block of people's health, dignity, safety, well-being and inclusion. And to achieve the new urban agenda and the sustainable development goals, we want to focus and highlight this important, initiative and this important theme.
According to estimates, around 20% of world's population doesn't have adequate housing. In this context, how does UN look at the future scenario and what are the measures being undertaken to ensure adequate housing?
Yeah, housing is an important need for every person. So our focus to orchestrate the planning practices, the policies, and to pull all these other important levers that we have at our disposal to integrate housing in the way we do our, look at urban development going forward.
You talked about the theme, and we all of us are very well aware that India has also set a goal for itself by proposing the housing for all by 2022 under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. How do you look at India's progress vis-a-vis the achievements so far in this sector?
India had, under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana had the foresight to make it a national mandate. And one of the important aspects of this program is that a large share of this housing is dedicated for the slums and the weaker sections of the society. So almost 18 million, that's 1.8 crores of housing that is proposed to be being planned for addressing the slum challenge in the country. We also need to look further beyond this by looking at the housing at the center as one of the key areas. There are opportunities to make this important program better, to make it more inclusive.
Now we are living in a planet at a time when COVID-19 pandemic has cast its shadows on the development works. So what are the challenges for sustainable and adequate housing for all in the COVID and post-COVID era?
Yes, so COVID has definitely, been an eye-opener in many ways to position the need for providing basic services and basic amenities to all. The health crisis of the scale of COVID, can kind of shed a spotlight on this challenge of inequality, not just in India, but globally, on how cities, where we have not planned well to make sure that everybody across in our cities and in our communities has access to basic services, which is shelter, water, sanitation. Livelihood is one of the most worst affected groups of people. So while a lot of lessons are being learned as we are learning from this crisis, but we want to again focus debate back into the crisis of shelter, and the selection of housing for all was very well thought out in this regard.
It takes us back to the SDG goal, and especially when we are talking about the SDG goal number 12, which talks about sustainable cities and communities. What is the focus of UN Habitat's work in India in this regard? In what way its work has been contributing towards urban development in India?
SDG 11 aims to make our human settlements and cities sustainable, inclusive, safe and resilient. And this has determined our UN Habitat strategy in India on the kinds of programmatic interventions and also the normative research work that we are currently doing. And we are very thankful for the Government of India and the Ministry and all the partners for their support and their collaboration. Our main, projects at the moment are looking at the whole breadth of work, consultation with the needs of the urban challenges in India at the moment. One of our main flagship projects is on sustainable cities and communities. So under the Sustainable Cities project, what we are trying to do is to look at how can we infuse sustainable strategies into the urban planning and management of the cities so that an enabling climate for investments in green infrastructure can be constructed. So with that in mind, this program is being piloted in 5 cities across 4 states at the moment. We are also looking into the waste aspects. The waste management is an important challenge in India. Some of the important schemes of the government, the Swachh Bharat mission this kind of gives a very good picture to the scale of the crisis and the interventions that are possible. But we are going to take this debate, important initiative a bit forward and look at the challenge of plastic waste.
Parul, just brings me to just one important aspect. India has been at the helms of affairs in UN Habitat during 2017 to 2019. Can you share some light on the significant achievements in this period?
Yes, so India was elected as the president of the UN Habitat Assembly for the 2 years, and these are very important years because they were kind of running up towards the planning of the World Urban Forum 2020, and then also the Habitat 3 conference, which is organized once in every 20 years. In 2016, set out this new urban agenda as a way forward, as a blueprint for UN Habitat to follow for the next 20 years, to look at how to kind of fulfill the mandate under SDG 11. So India was in a very important position to shape that narrative. So provide a lot of important lessons that were from the urbanization story of India itself, with a lot of flagship projects such as the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the Smart City Mission, the Swachh Bharat Mission.
Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights into the shape of things to come in the context of towns and cities.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post has reported that Twitter is set to restore Trump's account after blocking him for fomenting Capitol riot. According to New York Times, U.S. authorities reported a record 3,963 new coronavirus deaths in the country on Wednesday. The Sydney Morning Herald has reported that half of the Australians could be vaccinated against coronavirus before the middle of the year, and Kathmandu Post writes that Nepal Foreign Minister Gavali is expected to visit Delhi in mid-December for a joint commission meeting.
Moving on to sports, Australia were at 166 for the loss of 2 wickets against India at the draw of stumps on the first day of Sydney cricket test when rain disrupted the play. Steven Smith with 31 and Labuschagne with 67 were at the crease. Debutant Pukowski scored a useful half-century. For India, Mohammad Siraj and Navdeep Saini took a wicket each. In football, Manchester City defeated Manchester United to reach the finals of the Carabao Cup. In badminton, top-seeded Indonesian men's doubles pair for the Thailand Open have pulled out of the tournament. Kevin Sanjaya Sukamuljo of the pair tested positive for COVID-19. A quick look at the headlines once again. U.S. Congress certifies Joe Biden as the president amidst violence and chaos at Capitol Hill. India will hold the second nationwide mock drill on the COVID-19 vaccination tomorrow. Japan Prime Minister declares state of emergency in Tokyo over spike in COVID cases. India defends equalization levy against US 301 report. Says the levy promotes fair competition and reasonableness. The domain Into the Darkness and February in the stellar lineup of international feature films for IFFI in Goa. And in sports, Australia off to a good start against India on the opening day of the third cricket test at Sydney.
India celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favourite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Ghana. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.